Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So it's getting deep into the cold winter for many people in North America, especially on the East Coast, and I figured we could take a look back at some cars that lots of people love to enjoy in the summer, the convertible. So today we're looking back at some of the best Dodge convertibles in chronological order. There's some you might expect and then some oddballs as well. And note that these are all available from the manufacturer, so none will be one-offs or custom creations. I also plan on doing a future episode where I cover all the Chrysler convertibles as well. So let's get started. First, we start with a very rare Dodge Dakota, the Sport convertible. This was made for just 3 model years from 1989 to 1991. As you might expect, there was not a market for a vehicle like this, so it sold pretty poorly and not many were made. 1989 was the most popular year, where Dodge sold 2,842 of these. 1990 saw the sales fall to 909, and then only 8 were sold in 1991 to fulfill contract obligations. Those 8 are very interesting because there was no advertising for them, they were built randomly, each with different options, and were mostly all sold before reaching the dealerships. If you're wondering why the hell Chrysler would make a convertible truck, that's on the CFO Jerry York at the time. Instead of adding more power or off-road toughness like GM was doing, he thought the convertible would be the solution to boost sales. So starting in 1989, Dodge started shipping regular cab Dakotas to American Sunroof Company, also known as ASC, and they converted the trucks into the convertibles. They cut off the roof and added a single hoop roll bar, a soft top, and a plastic rear window. New frameless glass doors were also installed for a cleaner top-down look. Other than the soft top, the convertible is pretty similar to the regular Dakotas. In 1989, the Sport convertible could be ordered in black, white, or red, and blue was added for 1990. They came standard with a 3.9-liter V6 with 125 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque, along with a 5-speed manual or 4-speed automatic, and 4x2. 4x4 was an option for those that wanted it. 1990 would add a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder with a single fuel injector that produced 100 horsepower and 132 pound-feet of torque. This model was technically a sport trim, so that would add things like velour seats, power windows and door locks, cruise control, fog lights, anti-lock brakes, an AM/FM stereo with a cassette player and 4 speakers, and unique graphics. And the convertible would add about $3,000 to the price of the Dakota, so $14,425 for a 4x2 convertible and $16,595 for a 4x4 way back in 1989. So this was a fantasy idea on paper, but it never worked as Dodge thought it would. While it was a one-of-a-kind vehicle, the truck didn't look all that good, it had a very leaky top, and it could be dangerous if the bed was full of tools or equipment. Next up is another oddball, the Dodge Shadow. The Shadow and its platform mate, the Plymouth Sundance, were economy 3-door and 5-door hatchbacks that were introduced in 1987. The convertible variant was added then from 1991 to 1993 for the Shadow only, not offered by Plymouth. The Shadow wasn't known as the best car, it was more of a cheap car that didn't offer drivers too much aside from some breakdowns, but looking back on the convertibles, they are definitely quite unique. They got just 2 trim levels, the ES and Highline. Pricing was several thousand more than non-convertible options, between $14,758 and $16,600. In total, 29,541 of these drop tops were manufactured, most of them in 1991. That first year saw a 2.5-liter Chrysler inline 4-cylinder offered that made 100 horsepower and 135 pound-feet of torque, and there was a turbo version that upped the ante to 150 horsepower and 190 pound-feet of torque. 1992 saw a Mitsubishi-built 3-liter V6 engine added to replace the previous turbo engines, with 141 horsepower and 171 pound-feet of torque. All the engines were available with a 5-speed manual transmission, while a 3-speed automatic was optional on the 4-cylinder cars. I could only find estimates, but the base 2.5-liter cars had an abysmal 0 to 60 in 11 seconds, and the quarter mile in 18.5 seconds, while the V6 could do 0 to 60 in 8.4 seconds, and the quarter mile in 16.4 seconds. Dodge actually looked at building the convertibles in-house, but they just ended up converting hardtop cars since they were already offered as a 2-door. The body structure, door mechanisms, and steering column were reinforced. This was a K car with an aging 10-plus-year-old platform, so the Shadow convertible was dropped for 1994, and then the Shadow and Sundance themselves were replaced by a far better car, the Dodge and Plymouth Neon, which was never offered as a convertible. Now we have one of the most famous sports cars to ever hit the roads, the Dodge Viper. We'll spend a good chunk of time here as there were 4 generations of Vipers that came as a roadster model. Before we cover the Viper, we can look at the production altogether here. So Dodge made roughly 31,500 Vipers from 1992 to 2017. Of those, quite a few were actually a convertible. All 6,709 first gens are a convertible, another 3,626 for Gen 2, around 7,000 for the third gen, and another 1,004 for the fourth gen. So all in all, there should be around 18,406 Dodge Viper convertibles in existence, which is around 58% of them. We begin with the first gen SR1 from 1992 to 1995, which offered a two-door target top, which was a semi-convertible with removable canvas roof and full-width roll bar behind the seats. The original RT10 Roadster had an MSRP of $50,700, which would be around $107,500 in today's dollars. The Viper was engineered to be a performance car first and foremost, so the early models came without exterior door handles, key cylinders, airbags, or air conditioning, while the windows were made from vinyl using zippers to open and close. Some of those features would later be added for 94 and 95 models. A lightweight fiberglass hard roof option was also added on later models to cover the canvas soft roof. These Vipers had the 8-liter V10 under the hood rated at 400 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. With a curb weight of just 3,280 pounds, the first Viper did 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds and the quarter mile in 12.6 seconds, with a top speed of 165 miles per hour. Gen 2, or the SR2, was offered from 1996 to 2002, again with a removable hardtop option with a sliding glass window. Using a 1999 RT10 Roadster as an example would cost you $65,725 back then. Most parts from the first gen were passed on, just upgraded. This time around, the GTS was the coupe while the RT10 was the Roadster. The V10 got some minor upgrades like exhaust relocation to the rear to release back pressure, resulting in an output of 415 horsepower until 1997 and 450 horsepower after that. Since it was fairly similar to the first gen, performance didn't really improve, with the 0 to 60 time tested at 4.3 seconds and the quarter mile at 12.4 seconds. Also of note, a 6-speed Borg-Warner T56 manual transmission was used for both the first and second gens. Next was the ZB1, a new Viper introduced in 2002. This became the SRT10, replacing both the RT10 and GTS. That SRT10 convertible was initially announced and the coupe joined it late in 2006. By 2004, the price of the Viper had rose up to $81,090. The Viper was extensively redesigned by Dodge's new performance division, Street and Racing Technology, hence the SRT10 name. The engine displacement increased to 8.3 liters and power went up to 500 horsepower on the Roadster and 525 pound-feet of torque, but note that the coupe version did have 10 more of each. This time around, Dodge used a 6-speed Tremec T56 manual. The convertible could do 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, the quarter mile in 11.77 seconds, and had a top speed of 189.5 miles per hour, which was just a bit less capable than the coupe. Finally, we moved to the 4th gen ZB2. This was the last Viper convertible, as Dodge never brought it back at all for the 5th gen. The 4th gen was around for just 3 years, from 2008 to 2010, and for that final year, a Viper SRT10 convertible was $90,255, which was around $1,500 to $2,000 cheaper than the coupe version. The exterior wasn't changed much on this Viper, however the engine capacity increased again to 8.4 liters, and horsepower went up to 600 with torque at 560 pound-foot. This engine was developed with McLaren Automotive and Ricardo Consulting engineers, with upgrades like better flowing heads, larger valves, variable valve timing, and dual electronic throttle bodies. The rev limiter was raised by 300 RPM, and the older Tremec T56 transmission was replaced by a newer TR6060. Other improvements included a revised suspension system, reworked exhaust, changes to the electrical system, and a higher capacity fuel pump and filter system. The performance kept on improving, this time doing 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds, the quarter mile in 11.5 seconds, and a 197 mile per hour top speed for the Roadster with the top down, and cracking 202 miles per hour with the top up. Last up, we have the Dodge Challenger. After customers were wanting a drop-top option for years, finally Dodge gave the people what they wanted with the option of ordering a Dodge Challenger convertible. There aren't any quantity restrictions, but they will definitely be harder to find than a hardtop Challenger. These became available this past August on late 2022 and 2023 models. There are ordering restrictions though, as they're only available on the Hemis, so that would be the RT Scat Pack, and all the SRT and Hellcat models, but not on the V6s. The package has an MSRP of $25,999 on top of the price of the car being purchased, so it's very expensive. To do this, Dodge has teamed up with Drop Top Customs, the oldest convertible coach builder in the US. They have 46 years of modification experience, and they have been doing thousands of modern Dodge Challenger conversions for customers since the 2008 release. Now they're just partnered with Dodge instead of just doing it with the customer directly. After the car is built at the Brampton plant, it will be shipped to Drop Top Customs instead of directly to the dealership. Once there, the roof is removed, the power soft top is installed, and the structural reinforcements are added to prevent the chassis flex once the hard top is cut away. And once this conversion is completed, the car is shipped back to the dealership for delivery. It looks like Dodge is offering this because it's part of their victory lap for the Challenger, as the Dodge CEO Tim Kuniskis said, to commemorate how far the brand has come by making it easier for Dodge Challenger customers to create a throwback convertible look. So this is definitely a ton of money, but it's going to be an amazing way to get a unique and desirable car, and they will likely hold a lot of value down the line as the convertibles will be a rarer option with just the 2 model years available. Remember, the last time Dodge offered a convertible Challenger from the factory was for 1970 and 1971, and some of those vehicles have become extremely rare and expensive due to their collectability and the Hemi engines. So that's it for these Dodge convertibles without really going past the 1990s. Which was your favorite? And also, do you want to see more videos like this one? I can go farther back and cover older Dodge convertibles in a part 2, and also look at Chryslers in another video as well. Let me know down in the comment section below. As always, thanks for watching, make sure to subscribe for all your Mopar content, and I'll see you in the next video.